Hey there, hope you're having a wonderful day. In this video, we're going to go over structs in C++. So this is the first video in the object-oriented programming series in C++. And if you've ever done object-oriented programming before in other languages, then you probably worked with classes. In C++, there's also classes, and basically structs are very similar to classes, except there's one minor difference, which I will cover in the next video. So structs and classes are both used to create user-defined types. So we can define an entity with member variables and functions. So far in C++, you've worked with many different containers, such as vectors, pairs, maps, sets, and there are many more, and they are all implemented using classes, okay? So similar to those ideas, we can also create our own types. So for this example, let's say I want to represent a student. A student has a name, a student has an age, and a student has a list of courses. Now I can represent this using a container such as a tuple that can hold different types, or I can represent this using 3 different variables. But what I can do is I can use object-oriented programming. I can create a struct to represent a student. So it is an organized, structured unit. So this is the idea of encapsulation, and the idea of abstraction is we are representing a student in code. So let's create a struct. So to create a struct, you would create it outside the main function, and you would type in struct. So this is short for structure, and you would create the name for the struct. In this case, we want to represent students. So over here, I'm going to use title case. So you capitalize the first letter in the word. So if it is a classroom, you would say classroom like so. But since student is one word, I'm going to do student like so. And then you add the curly braces. And over here, even though in our functions, if conditional statements are for loops, while loops, we don't add semicolons with the curly braces, we need to do so for our structs. So here I'm going to add a semicolon. Now, inside our struct, I can add some properties. So earlier we mentioned that a student has a name, and that can be represented as a string. And over here, I can do string name. Now, for the naming convention for the member variables, I personally use camel case, which is similar to title case, except the first letter is not capitalized. Now, a lot of times you might see m underscore name or m uppercase name. You might see an m in the beginning, and this is used to distinguish a member variable from an ordinary variable. So the M here stands for member. Now, personally, I don't use this naming convention, so this is up to you. So I'm just going to leave that there. And students can also have an age. So over here, I can do int age. And finally, we said students can have courses. And for the courses, we would represent it as a list or a vector. So over here, I can do std vector. And for now, I'm just going to keep it as a vector of strings. So it's going to be a list of course names. So here I'm going to do std string. So here I'll call it courses. Oops, I accidentally typed in an extra angle bracket. Okay, so now we have our student struct. Now we can create an instance of this student struct or an object. So to do so, we would just type in the name of the struct type, which is student. So here I can do student, and I'm just going to name the student student1. So now we have a struct, we have an instance of that struct called student1, but we need to also assign these values. So we have a name, age, and courses. So here I can do student1.name is equal to Kenny. And I can assign the student an age. So student1.age is 18. I wish I was 18. And we can also add some courses for the students. So here I can do student1.courses.pushback. And here I can add some courses. So I can add calculus as an example. And let me just copy and paste this. And over here, I'm just going to change this to French. And let's copy and paste this. And over here, I'm just going to change this to economics. So basically, we can access the member variables of a struct by just taking the variable name, dot, and the name of the field. So in this case, we have name, dot age, and dot courses, and this will return the associated type, okay? So here we have courses, which is a vector. Therefore, I can do student1 dot courses, which is a vector, dot pushback. Alright, so now that we assign all the member variables values, let's try to print the information out. So if I were to do std cout student1, you can see we get an error. And that is because so far we have not supported this feature to print out a student object. So we can't do it this way so far. In a later video, I'll show you how to actually implement this. But for now, let's just print out each individual field. So let's get rid of this. So over here, I'm going to do cout name student1 dot name, and let's add an line, and let's also do the same for the other fields. So cout age student1 dot age, and let's do the same for the courses. So here I'm going to do cout courses, and we need to iterate through the vector. So for const string, so we're going to do const reference of student1 dot courses, and let's just print out the course. Let's add a space between courses, and at the end, let's print out the end line. Alright, so basically we're just going to access each field in the student variable and print out the value. So we're going to print out the name, age, and we iterate through the vector of courses, and we print out each course. Now let's save and run the program. And you can see we get name Kenny, age is 18, and the courses are calculus, French, and economics. Now, here's the thing. If I want to print out the information of the student, I would have to write all of this out myself. And if I update the student courses and I want to see the information again, then I would have to copy and paste this code again. So this is going to be a lot of repetitive code. So instead of putting it here, why don't we let the student struct handle the printing information for us? So this is the idea of encapsulation. We are going to delegate the task. So we are going to redirect the responsibility from us to the struct. So instead of putting the code here, we're going to create a method or functionality for our struct. So essentially, a method is a member function of a struct. And the syntax is pretty much the same as how you would define a regular function. So if I scroll up to our struct, over here, I can add a function. So I can do void print information, and I can just copy and paste this bit. So let's just copy, remove that, and paste in here. Now, the name student1 comes from the variable. We don't need this since we now have access to the properties over here. So I can just get rid of this bit, and this as well, and this as well. All right, so now we basically moved the responsibility of printing the information to the struct. So down here, I can now do student1 dot, and what is the name of our function? Print information. So here I can do print information. So let's save and run the program. And you can see we get the exact same thing as before, except this time, if I want to update the struct and add another course for the student, then I can just call print information again. So for example, let's say I add another course, and over here, I'm going to change this to chemistry. And then afterwards, I can do student1 dot print information again. If I save and run the program, you can see we have code reusability. So over here, we print once, and then we add chemistry, and we print again. So that is a nice thing about using methods. So let's get rid of this bit. Now, here's another thing. When we add courses, every time we need to access the vector of our struct. So we would have to do student1 dot courses dot pushback. So similar to how we have a method for printing the information, we can also allow the struct to handle adding courses. So we can create a separate method for adding courses, and therefore we can just call that method instead of trying to call pushback on the vector of the student courses. So over here, I can add another method, void add course. And over here, I can pass in a string to represent the course name. So this will be const reference since we're not updating the string. And here I can just do courses dot pushback course. And now over here, I can just change this bit to add course. And same for here and here. So now it's a lot cleaner and it's more clear in what we're trying to achieve. So instead of trying to access a vector and calling pushback, I am calling the method add course. So I want to add a course for this student. So let's save and run the program. And you can see we get the same thing as before. We add the courses calculus, French, and economics. And the nice thing about using a method for adding a course is that we can control how these data members are being accessed. So let's say I take this and I copy and paste it over here. So essentially, I am adding the course French twice. Now, if you are a student, you're not going to take the same course twice. It doesn't make sense to do so. So what I can do is I can add a check inside this add course method. So over here, before I even add the course to the vector, I can make a check. So I can iterate through all the courses inside the vector to see if this course already exists. If it does exist, then we're not going to add it again. So let me just save and run the program to show you. Currently, Kenny has 4 courses: calculus, French, economics, and French again. So we don't want this to happen. So let's update our add course method. So here, I'm just going to iterate through the vector, and we already have a code block that does that. So here I can just take this and paste in here. And instead of this, I can add a conditional statement. So if course is equal to, and in this case, I already used the name course as the parameter for the function, and I'm using it again for this for loop. So here I'm just going to change the parameter name to new course. And now in the if conditional statement, I can do new course. And over here, I'll change this to new course. Okay, so every time we add a new course or we attempt to add a new course, this method is going to iterate through the vector and make a check. So if this current course is equal to the new course, that means this course already exists in our vector, in which case I'm going to add a print statement. So here I'm going to do cannot add duplicate course. And here I'll add the course name. And of course, we want to exit this function as soon as we spot a duplicate course. And how do you exit a function? You just use the keyword return. So the idea here is when we try to add a new course, we're first going to iterate through the vector of courses, and we're going to check each one to see if this is the same as the course that we're trying to add. If so, we're just going to print out this error message and return. Otherwise, we exit the for loop and we add this new course. And here, let's just inform the user that we add the new course successfully. Okay, so I added a print statement for this new course being added. So now we have our updated method for add course, and I'm just going to save and run the program. And you can see we add calculus, French, economics, and when we try to add French again, we get an error message, cannot add duplicate course French. And then when we print out the information, you can see we have the name Kenny, age is 18, and we only have 3 courses instead of 4. So calculus, French, and economics. All right, so that's how we can create structs in our programs to represent abstract or physical objects. And so basically, this falls in line with our pillars of object-oriented programming. So we have abstraction, which is the representation of an idea in code. So we are representing a student, so that's abstraction. And we said a student has a name, age, and a list of courses. And we also implemented the ideas of encapsulation, where instead of accessing the vector to directly add courses, we do so through an add course method, okay? And we also have print information, so we delegate the task to the student struct, okay? So that's the idea of struct and abstraction and encapsulation. In the next video, I'm going to go over classes. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, make sure you give this video a like. If you have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. And as always, if you want to stay up to date for more C++ tutorials like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.